Hello students. So to continue with the same topic, dynamic HTML, and today's topic would be more specifically dynamic positioning. Okay, so let's start with dynamic positioning. What do you mean by dynamic positioning and how can we do it using dynamic HTML? So regarding dynamic positioning, it is where we can position the HTML elements through scripting dynamically. Okay, so that means at the runtime, you can change the position of any HTML element or maybe the text as per your requirements. You can change the margins, you can change the positioning, any ways. Okay, so this can be achieved using an element's CSS position property. This can be either set to absolute or relative as per your requirements, and moving the element by manipulating any of its top, left, right, or bottom CSS properties. All these four are used in absolute positioning. We have already discussed this. Okay, so let's start with the example. So this is the example in which we'll be learning dynamic positioning. As you can see over here, we are using a lot of variables. We have speed, count, direction, then a string we are using, then we have an array of different fonts that we have created. Okay, and one more variable, font style count, which is 0 initially. Okay, so before we proceed to the rest of the code, I would like to tell you first what this program is actually doing, and I would like to show you the output first so that you can relate to the code in an easier way. Okay, so what we are trying to do here in this code, you can see it from the output. We are printing some text along with the font size also. Okay, and we are increasing the size of the text. Fine, so this is one instance of the output. Now you can see it with the help of another instance. This is also one new instance. So the size is changing as well as the color is changing, and also you can realize the difference between the font also, right? So what we're doing, we are actually increasing the size of the text up to a particular limit, up to a certain limit that we have fixed in our variables. So as per this program, we have taken 200 as the maximum size. So we'll be increasing the text size up till 200, and that phase would be called as the text growing phase. Okay, and in the growing phase, the text that we are displaying is text growing. Then once the size becomes 200, then we are reducing the size, and that phase we are calling it as text shrinking. So we are changing the text as text shrinking. Also the color is changing. Okay, so this is what we are trying to do. One more thing that we are doing is we are increasing the left margins also. So as the text is becoming larger, it will start, cropping from this side. So we are shifting it towards the right so that the text remains visible completely. Okay, this is what we are going to do. So let's start with the code. Fine. So these variables we have taken, we leave the function for the time being. Leave the function. Okay, come here. Body onload, start call aura. Then we have a paragraph with p text as the ID. And then style property we are using to position the element absolutely with the left margin as 0. So whatever we are writing welcome over here, and since the left margin is 0, so once we see the output, so welcome would be written over here, exactly over here, because the left margin is 0. Then we have also fixed the font as serif and color as blue. So initially you will be watching the text written would be welcome, just near the boundary with a blue colored text in serif font, right? And since you're calling start on onload, so we'll move to start. In the start function, we are calling set interval. We had discussed this function already in college in our classes, but I'll repeat its use. Set interval does what? It starts a timer which actually uh, calls the function, a particular function that we have mentioned as the argument, it keeps on calling this function again and again after the lapse of this much milliseconds. So that means we'll be calling run function after every 100 milliseconds. So we'll go to run function once it is called. In run function, we are starting with the variable count. So count, we are increasing the value of count by the value of speed. That means initially its value was 10, now it will become 15. Then we have a if block checking the value of count whether it has reached 200 or not. Okay, as I told you, there would be two phases, shrinking and growing. So if the value has not reached 200, that means we are in the growing phase, so we will not go to if. Fine, simply we'll come here, and ptext style font size will become count divided by 3, then left margin will become equivalent to count, and inner HTML, we are changing the text of the paragraph. We would overwrite welcome text with some other text. So we will be writing the value of first line. First line kya tha? First line was this text. So we'll be overwriting the paragraph with this text. Also, we are appending the text as font size and the value of count we are picking. So it would be written text growing, and font size is whatever is the value of count. For the time being, it is 15. So it will start with 15 and then px. Okay. It will keep on moving again and again because run function is being called again. Okay. After every 100 milliseconds, and every time it would be incremented by 5. Okay. So let's discuss once it reaches size 200. So if becomes true, then what we are doing, we are multiplying the speed by -1 so that the count's value keeps on decreasing. So this phase will be taken as the shrinking phase. Directions value is also becoming negative, means we are negating the value of direction. And ptext.style.color, the color of the ptext is being changed here. We are using the conditional operator over here. If the value of speed is less than 0, then the color would be picked as red or the color would be picked as blue. Also, we are changing the value of our string. If speed is less than 0, then text shrinking आ जाएगा first line में, otherwise first line will contain text growing. Okay. Then one more thing, ptext.style.font family. We are fixing the font as font style by passing the value of font style count, incrementing the value of font style count, and then taking modulo 3. Why we are taking modulo 3? Because font style was an array which is having only 3 values. So we want this value to move in between 0, 1 and 2. It should pick only the 3 values, that is either 0 or 1 or 2. So we are taking modulo 3. Okay. So on the basis of these statements, we are changing the color, the font as well as the text. This is how it is working. Okay. Hope it is clear now. If you have any doubts, please do respond in the form of comments, or you can mail me. Okay, you can email me your doubts, or you can post them on the Google Classroom only. Okay, thanks for the time being. We'll start with the next video with some different topic.